cinematic moments to a frosting-filled attack on the Mona Lisa. Welcome to our daily culture show. We begin with the leading lady who has inspired numerous leading ladies. This week, Britain celebrates Queen Elizabeth II as the Commonwealth's longest-serving monarch. In her 70 years on the throne, she has been portrayed in multiple films and a hit TV series. She's even made one on-screen appearance herself alongside another British icon. James Mulholland tells us more.
A life worthy of a film or two? Indeed, Queen Elizabeth II has been the subject of many.
Then she's late.
Producers are drawn to the darker periods of her family life, like the death of Princess Diana, portrayed here in Spencer. Or here in The Queen, the 2006 film that won Helen Mirren an Oscar for her striking incarnation of the monarch. But if you ask visitors outside Buckingham Palace, the reference on most of their minds is the hit series The Crown.
We learned to know her from The Crown, and, well, we respect her now much more.
I thought she was a pretty cold person, but while watching the series, I started to like her.
It's a different way of getting to know the royals. I think for younger people, having a show can only be beneficial.
For the show's actresses, Olivia Colman and Claire Foy, showing the intimate life of Elizabeth II was a challenge, since she rarely breaks her public facade. To get to the truth, producers often turn to specialists like Robert Lacey, who studies her life like an investigator, gathering anecdotes and secrets from her entourage.
The Queen is essentially a modest person, so she has an instinctive aversion to publicity about herself, and even though she's a professional person and understands that it is part of her job, it is not something she enjoys.
In her 70 years on the throne, Elizabeth II has only made a single film appearance.
Good evening, Mr. Bond.
Good evening, Your Majesty.
But it's certainly made an impact. The short film alongside Daniel Craig as 007 pulled all the strings, complete with a parachute jump into the Olympic Stadium for the opening ceremony of the 2012 London Games. A triumphant entry into the stadium and an unforgettable moment for all of Britain, in particular for the stuntman who played the Queen's double.
I get involved at this point here. So this was live over the stadium. I jumped first, followed by a friend of mine, Mark. And then this is me here. I can tell that because I can see the pink of my wonderful dress that I was wearing, my peach salmon dress.
The scene was watched live by over 1 billion people. It gave a small insight into the royal sense of humour and no doubt boosted the Queen's popularity worldwide. A brief stint as leading lady in a record reign as monarch.
Now, she met the Queen a decade ago when she was made a commander of the British Empire. Actress Kate Winslet was in Cannes this year. She was the juror for the festival's Lights on Women Award, created to tackle the underrepresentation of female filmmakers. And she spoke to our culture editor, Eve Jackson, about gender equality in the film industry.
We get to experience filmmakers across many different cultures, and bringing everyone together for this event here in this space is really unusual, and it's very special, and women need one another to lean on. And when you're making films, it's hard. And being in a creative space where you can share the challenges you faced, where you can talk about your hopes and your dreams and what you aspire to be in your life, to be able to do that in a safe environment like this one, which is only about celebrating women, that's what filmmaking should be about, and so it's really special.
What advice would you give to young women coming into the business?
Well, it's really interesting because I think the advice I would give today is really different to the advice I would have given 20 years ago. So 25 years ago, I would have said, go for it, amazing, good on you. Probably have a fallback plan and a part-time job. Whereas now I'm just like, amazing, go for it. There's loads of content, you know, with Netflix and HBO, there's so much more happening that for young actors, I mean, everyone's working, everyone's running around working, busy, you know, so it's a completely different ballgame now, and it's genuinely a remarkably, you know, sound industry, I think, to get into, because there's just so much more content than there was 25 years ago.
And we've seen lots of improvements in the last few years when it comes to female filmmaking, and the last two directors, Best Director Oscars went to women. But there are only 5 female directors in the Cannes competition this year. What's your reaction to that?
Well, I think it's, you know, 5's better than none, you know, and things are changing. I think that we are seeing gender parity it's getting better, and it's events like this that will really keep bolstering that and really highlighting the work and the achievements of women, which is equal, if not better, to the boys sometimes. And it's just a different gaze. It's a female gaze in filmmaking that we need, that we crave, that we want. And so I think the more we keep, I think, just highlighting this work and pulling women together like this, the more chance we've got of achieving gender parity across the board one day. And I think it's getting better, I do.
2 weeks after they took home the trophy in the Eurovision Song Contest, Ukraine's Kalish Orchestra has auctioned off that trophy to support their country's armed forces. The crystal microphone sold for over 800,000 euros, money that will go towards buying drones. As Selena Sykes reports, the group has been using their newfound fame to raise money and rally support for their homeland.
They rode an outpouring of support to be crowned champions of Eurovision. Kalish Orchestra's emotional performance of their song Stefania won over hearts across Europe. The Ukrainian group put the crystal microphone trophy they won last month in Turin up for auction on Facebook, raising 837,000 euros, on top of a further 343,000 by raffling off frontman Ola Syuk's pink bucket hat. The money raised will buy drones for the Ukrainian army. The band, who themselves were fighting as part of the Ukrainian resistance just a few weeks before the competition, most recently played a charity concert in Berlin. For them, cultural exposure is just as important as raising funds.
Our culture now is under threat too, and has been for a long time. That's why it was important for us to go to Eurovision. It's important to be here to show Ukrainian culture in all its aspects.
Their performances have also boosted the morale of Ukrainians far from home and loved ones.
Ukraine is my country, it's my home, and I miss it so much. And it's like really good that it's concert today, because it's like a little bit parts of this country is here.
We don't feel so alone. We get positive energy and understanding. There are many Ukrainian people here.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is determined that Ukraine will host next year's Eurovision Song Contest in Mariupol.
This victory is for every Ukrainian. Slava Ukraini!
Visitors at the Louvre Museum here in Paris got more of a show than they were expecting this Sunday when a man smashed a creamy-looking cake onto the protective case around the Mona Lisa. No video captured the moment itself. The man declared it to be climate activism and was later admitted to a psychiatric hospital. As Vedika Bahel explains, it's not the first time the famous portrait has been targeted.
Mona Lisa and her iconic smile covered in chantilly cream. On Sunday at the Louvre Museum, a 36-year-old man disguised as an old lady jumped out of a wheelchair and smeared cake on the painting, whilst urging people to think of the planet.
Think of the Earth. There are people who are destroying the Earth.
Witnesses described the event as jaw-dropping, with social media taken by storm with the footage. Thanks to the glass casing, the piece was left undamaged and the perpetrator escorted out by security and an investigation underway. But this isn't the first time Leonardo da Vinci's most famous work has been attacked. In 1956, she was put behind glass when a Bolivian student threw a rock at the painting, damaging her left elbow. In 2009, a teacup was launched at her by a Russian tourist, scratching the case. And the famous painting made headlines when she was stolen in 1911, with French poet Guillaume Apollinaire and Spanish painter Pablo Picasso among the suspects behind it. But the thief was finally caught 2 years later, having committed the theft disguised as a worker on closing day.
And finally, we head back into the Upside Down with the latest installment of sci-fi horror series Stranger Things. The show became a global hit when it was released in 2016. It plunges viewers into a nostalgic 1980s in the fictional small town of Hawkins, Indiana, where a group of young teens gets caught up in supernatural horrors. Season 4 is more gruesome and epic with episodes of over an hour. The final 2 are set for release on July 1st. Now, Netflix has been facing major financial and subscriber issues, and the show's loyal fan base could give them a boost. Well, we'll end with a peek at Stranger Things Season 4. Thank you very much for watching. For more culture news, you can always head to our website or find us on social media. There's more news coming up after this.
They're not way off.
Lost. France 24. Every art form.
Liberté, égalité, actualité.
In 2017, nearly 900,000 Rohingyas, a Muslim minority brutally repressed by Myanmar, fled to refugee camps in Cox's Bazar in the south of neighbouring Bangladesh, where living conditions are becoming ever harsher. Faced with the overcrowding of the camps, the Bangladesh government has decided to move some of the refugees to Basan Char, a remote outpost that resembles a prison island.
আমরা সবাই জানি যে যখনই অন্য দেশের কেউ এরকম রিফিউজি বা ডিসপ্লেসড হয়ে আসে তাকে কিন্তু সেই দেশের মধ্যে ফ্রিলি মুভমেন্ট করতে দেয়া হয় না.
Watch Reporters, the eternal exile of the Rohingyas, on France 24 and France24.com.